There is an announcement taking place over the public address at the moment, and the boos from the Bulgarian supporters are getting louder and louder. So it seems that is the warning which has been given to the Bulgarian supporters.
I've seen some of the saluting going on, and it would be difficult not to think that they, before they left the stadium, were certainly making Nazi salutes, or salutes that were very similar to that with the straight and stiff arm. And I think that Gareth Southgate at that point once more went over to the officials and said, we have to sort this out now.
They are Nazis. There are Nazis in the stands there in that Bulgaria game, which makes me feel really uncomfortable, not just because of the inevitable horror of what that means, the fact that these people exist, that this ideology still exists and is as prevalent as it is in football stands across Europe. But just saying the word, even, I feel like immediately, as soon as I brand somebody a Nazi, my brain goes, no, you can't be right. No, that's surely unfair. Surely you've said something well out of line. Surely you're going to be pulled up on that. It's sort of job lost territory. I mean, I couldn't possibly. People have actually. Radio presenters have literally lost their job for branding people Nazis. I think there was one instance where somebody said something about parking attendants or something like that, and referred to them as Nazis, and they lost their job over that, and rightly so. It's not something that you should band around. These people are Nazis. These people are actual Nazis in the stands of this football game in Bulgaria. And it's horrific. It's absolutely horrific, which obviously goes without saying. Any right-minded person would be horrified by this. And let's not forget, I mean, we're pointing the finger at Bulgaria here. We have a racism problem in our football. Certainly nothing like we had in the 1970s, but we certainly have a racism problem in our football. I've been to plenty of football matches where I've seen some very questionable things. We've spoken before on this show about Marvin Sordell, the former footballer, a guy who retired earlier on this year. So tired was he with the nonsense that is the game, particularly around his mental health, but also around racism, about him going to Millwall, which is a place notorious for racists in the stands, and taking the abuse, warming up on the touchline and taking the abuse, and being the first person to complain about it in the best part of a decade. The first footballer to complain about abuse at a football stadium where footballers go week in, week out and are racially abused, to complain about it. And therein is your problem. Because until we call this out, and until we do things like walk off the pitch, and I admire the England players for carrying on, it's very noble. And I think that there is certainly something noble in what Raheem Sterling in particular, the black England striker, somebody who has been on the receiving end of a lot of that racist abuse, not just as he travels abroad with England, but here as well. I think he went to Stamford Bridge with Manchester City famously last season and received horrible racist abuse from Chelsea fans, another club who've been marred by racism over the years, who I think to a degree have started to get a grip on it, but it's still there. The cancer is still there. Raheem Sterling carrying on that game and scoring a couple of goals, as he has done, is wonderful and admirable, and certainly a great way to fight back. But it's not enough, is it? It's not enough by any standard. And the idea that we let the football do the talking is, I'm afraid, a nonsense. We heard Harry Kane say it there with Ross Powell in the news afterwards. He said that the England team got together and said, we're going to let the football do the talking. And fine, like I say, I've got full admiration for it. I can understand entirely why you would come to that conclusion. But make no mistake, it's not going to solve the problem. It will, if anything, perpetuate the problem, because you think that those guys care that you scored a goal? You think that those Nazis cared that they lost 6-0 tonight? No, they didn't care about that. They care about having a subject of their abuse. They care about having somebody, a black player on the pitch, that they can abuse in the way that they did. And so the only solution to this, and this is not just a message to those people who want to be racially abusive on the stands, and yeah, I'm looking at you, Millwall, and yeah, I am looking at you, Chelsea. This happens here as well, and we have to be honest about it, and we have to front up to it. The only way that we deal with this problem is if we walk off, is if we stop. If these games are stopped, if you take the football away from these hooligans, and Bulgaria should be banned. Bulgaria should be reprimanded. They clearly haven't got a grip on it. But more to the point, UEFA clearly haven't got a grip on it either. UEFA, the footballing body, one of the governing bodies of UEFA, of football, have time and time again on this issue just been spineless. There is some sort of 3-strike rule now. So you on the first instance, the referee is supposed to stop it. In the case of the England game last night, it took the England players, I think it was Harry Kane leading as captain, to go to the referee and say, "Are you hearing this? Are you hearing the abuse that our black players are getting here?" Before the referee actually did something about it. That's where you get a warning. So there's some sort of tannoy announcement, and then it goes to a threatening to stop the game. So the tannoy announcement steps up from, "Can you please stop being racist? Can you ever so kindly stop being a racist lout?" to, "We're going to stop this game if you don't stop being racist." And then it ticks into a third phase, I guess, a third strike where they walk off and they leave the game. Why didn't we get to that point? Why did we not get to the point where that game was called off? It should have been called off. And that is the only way that this message will get through, not least to those people, as I say, who are on the stands, but also UEFA and the FA, who need to do more about it here and abroad. Make no mistake, playing on is noble, but it's not going to do the job. It's really not going to do the job. 0344 499 1000 on that if you want to have your say. If maybe you've been in this kind of situation before and you've witnessed it, or maybe you're a Millwall fan or a Chelsea fan who wants to defend your team, I'm more than happy to do that. I know that we've made strides. I mean, the Kick It Out campaign is good. It works. You know, it's been very, very, very productive over the years. Not just in kicking these people out, but also changing their minds as well. Actually, football plays such a huge part in that. Now, don't underestimate that. Don't underestimate the fact that football is a weekly gathering of lads who are, by and large, trapped in a maze of toxic masculinity, who are egging each other on and are egged on by their other fans. And I say that because I know these people and I've been there. I am that person, right? I have been on the stands of a football stadium and I've chanted things that are unpleasant. I've never said anything remotely racist, and I certainly feel like I can be proud to say that I have a moral compass that has stopped me certainly crossing lines. But when I was a kid, the idea of chanting something about Manchester United's players dying on a runway in Munich, I think it was, that was like just part and parcel of being a football fan. Totally part and parcel of being a football fan. And it wasn't just one of the things that you didn't necessarily question. Actually, we probably shouldn't be taunting a football club over the death of their players, should we? It's probably not a particularly nice thing to say. And eventually the word spread about that, and eventually it became a thing that you couldn't say, and you got to realising the reasons behind the reason that you couldn't say it. And change was made, right? And the football stands can be a place for making that change. They can be a place where lads come together and be better. They can be a place where lads come together and be awful, but they can be a place where lads come together and be better. And the initiatives that exist around football, like the racism, the kicking out the racism, and also LGBT rights as well. And I think there was a fantastic initiative a little while ago where all the players wore rainbow-coloured laces in their football boots, which sort of seemed like a bit of a sort of mild gesture, I suppose, but it starts a conversation. And the reason that that's impactful is because these are conversations that these lads almost never have. Nobody is questioning the idea that calling a black lad something offensive or singing about the death of a football team's players, or using the word gay as a derogatory term is a bad thing. Like, they are so trapped in a maze of this toxic masculinity that they are not questioning these things. They're not questioned. And so football can play a massive, massive part in doing that. Just in this instance, it hasn't. More needs to be done, quite clearly.